Hey, what's going on, guys? Happy Sunday. Let me give me 1 second. Let me tweet out the stream, then we'll jump into it. That should be starting up now. We got about an hour till lock, so just bear with me 1 second here, and then we'll get into it. Okay, so if you guys are new to the stream, new to the channel, how it works is we'll take a look at all the Vegas odds real quick, and then I'll go, position by position breakdown, kind of mention cash plays, GPP plays, and then get to questions at the end. Got a good amount of time here, obviously, so don't have to really rush it. Let's take a look at these Vegas odds real quick. Falcons Cowboys continues to go up. It's currently sitting right now at a 54 over/under. Cowboys are 3-point favorites. This game's going to be the chalk for sure on both sides of it. You have Zeke. The Cowboys receivers are all, I think we'll get some ownership on the Falcons side. I think all three wide receivers will get ownership as well. I think Hayden Hurst actually makes for an interesting play as well. So there's a lot of good plays in that game. There's going to be chalk for sure. Bills Dolphins 42.5 over/under. Bills are 6-point favorites. Here, hold on, give me 1 second. Are you good? Yeah. Oh, you're good. Oh, it doesn't work?
No.
Oh. Alright. Well, I'm streaming right now, so. Bills, Dolphins, 42.5 over/under. Bills, 6-point favorites. Going to be kind of an uglier game, to be honest. Panthers, Bucks, 47 over/under. Bucks are 8.5-point favorites. We have Broncos, Steelers, a 41 over/under. Steelers are 7-point favorites. What's up, James? Let's see. We have Lions, Packers, 51 over/under. Packers are 7-point favorites. Rams, Eagles, a 46 over/under. Eagles currently right now 1.5-point favorites. Vikings, Colts, a 49 over/under. Colts 3-point favorites. Giants, Bears, it's a 42.5 over/under. Bears are 5-point favorites. 49ers, Jets, 41 over/under. 49ers are 7.5-point favorites there. Jags, Titans, a 44.5 over/under. The Titans are 7-point favorites. Washington and Arizona, 46.5 over/under. Cardinals, 7-point favorites. I think Kyler Murray, obviously, is a guy that's going to be pretty popular today in that game and someone that I'm looking to for cash. Ravens, Texans, a 49.5 over/under. Ravens are 7.5-point favorites. Chiefs, Chargers, 47.5 over/under. And the Chiefs are 9-point favorites. That one's an interesting one because Kansas City, I think we're going to get basically all their skill position players at really, really low ownership, so it makes an interesting spot there for GPPs. All right, what's up, guys? Let's go now to DraftKings, and we'll go kind of position by position. Again, I mentioned cash plays, GPP plays, and then we got questions at the end. So, quarterback position today. I always mention it. Normally, I like spending down in cash, but Lamar Jackson's in play in both formats. I think you can get him in cash. He's going to be contrarian, in my opinion, in cash games. Like, I think Kyler Murray is going to be the guy. I think Dak Prescott, maybe Matt Ryan will get some ownership too. But I just think the floor is super, super high in Lamar Jackson. And there's enough value. There is a lot of value today, especially a wide receiver. So, like, an interesting build that I've been messing with, which I think will be super, super contrarian, is like Lamar, quarterback, throw in McCaffrey, who we're going to get really, really low ownership, 2 other stud running backs, and then just go value wide receiver, since there are, again, a lot of value there today. So that's an interesting build that I've been kind of messing with. Probably not a cash build, but I do kind of like that for GPPs. But like I said, either way, Lamar Jackson in both formats. The floor is super, super high. No real issue at all. Mahomes is an interesting GPP play, in my opinion. Like, this Chiefs stack is going to be low owned. It just is. So Mahomes could pair him with one of the receivers. I don't mind that at all for GPPs. I don't think I'm going to get to Mahomes for cash. If I was going to spend up on quarterback for cash, it would be Lamar. So that's kind of my thoughts there. Then we get to like the mid-range quarterbacks with Rodgers at 6'9". Again, more of a GPP play just because the price point. Obviously, you compare him to Devontae Adams as a nice stack there. Devontae Adams is going to play in both formats, but Rodgers, I think I'd only look to him in GPPs. Dak's guy, I think, isn't playable in both formats just because of the game environment. Right, a 54 over/under. There's going to be super chalk on both sides of the ball, so I'm perfectly fine getting to Dak if you want to go there for cash, or Matt Ryan on the opposite side. I think both are in playing both formats, to be honest, just because that over-under. So I have no real issue with either quarterback. Matt Ryan threw the ball a crazy amount, 54 times for 450 yards. Yeah, like I said, there should be some points scored in this one. Atlanta likes throwing the ball, so both Dak and Matt Ryan, I think, look pretty solid. Josh Allen more of a contrarian play. Even in GPPs, like I would rather get to Dak, I'd rather get to Matt Ryan. So, yeah, the floor is somewhat high in him because it's rushing upside, but I'm not prioritizing Josh Allen, especially at that price. Brady at 6.5 is playable too, but only for GPPs. I mean, you can definitely pair him with Mike Evans with no Chris Godwin. I like Mike Evans a lot, even though he's dealing with a hamstring injury. Mike Evans is one of my favorite plays of the day, so you want to pair him with Tom Brady. I have no issue with that. We do also have some value at Tampa Bay receiver we'll get to in a bit. Deshaun Watson, another contrarian play. Again, you can stack him, Will Fuller for GPPs. Don't hate that at all. It's going to be super, super low owned, kind of like the Kansas City stack. Houston should be playing from behind. Deshaun Watson, very, very good in garbage time. So, yeah, that's no more of a contrarian play, contrarian stack, obviously, for GPPs. Big bet I'm not going to get to. That Denver-Pittsburgh game is kind of just a stay away from me. Like, Deontay Johnson is a value play that I think will be pretty popular, but not super, super excited about Denver and Pittsburgh. Stafford at 6.2 will go overlooked. I'm not going to get to him. Should be playing behind against Green Bay, but not super, super excited about it. We still have no Galladay, so, yeah. Again, you can use him as a low-owned play in GPPs, but I'm not going to get to him in cash or GPPs, to be honest. Kyler Murray is the guy for me at 6.1. He's going to be super popular in cash games. I think he is your cash quarterback. And there are some other options. You can go all the way to the top to Lamar. You could go Dak, Matt Ryan. But I think Kyler Murray is the guy that will be the most popular. He had 91 yards in the ground. Now, is he going to get that again? Probably not, but the rushing upside is there for him. Washington defense did look pretty decent, but it's just a price point thing with Kyler Murray. 6.1K, and you know he's going to be the most popular play at quarterback, in my opinion, for cash games. So he's the guy for me that I'm looking to for cash. I think he's playable in both formats, but he's going to be super chalk. Yeah, Wentz at 6K, I'm probably going to avoid. I'm probably not going to look to Tannehill or Kirk Cousins or Phillip Rivers or Daniel Jones. This next tier of quarterbacks is kind of ugly. Like, I'm not going to get to Goff. No thank you in Minshew. Bridgewater, to mention him, I think he's playable, 5.8. Just a price point thing. I think he goes a little bit overlooked, but I have some interest there in Bridgewater. I'm not going to get to Jimmy G. Trubisky's playable because of the price. He was terrible in the first half, had a bounce back there in the second half, got 24 fantasy points. I think he's playable, but again, I would feel a little bit more comfortable getting to a guy like Kyler Murray. Tyrod Taylor, another guy you can use as like a stack here if you want to pair him with Keenan Allen, a cheap stack. The Chargers should be playing from behind this one, so I don't hate that idea at all. Or you could look to a guy like Eckler if you think he bounces back. There was some bad quotes, I guess, for Eckler. They're not going to use him as much through the air, which does concern me, obviously, because that's where Eckler gets a lot of his value is through his catches. And with no Phillip Rivers, Phillip Rivers was king of the dump-offs to the running backs. Tyrod Taylor, not as much. So that's kind of the downside there, but at 5.3, I think he's playable. Would I go to him in cash? Probably not, but another guy that can get it done on the ground. And again, this should be playing from behind, should be good game script here. So that's really it for quarterback from me. I'm probably not going to get to Haskins at 5.1, even at that price. So let's talk about running back today. Running back is, in cash games, there's about 3 or 4 plays I think pretty stand out a good amount. For cash, Zeke at 8.2. He's going to be popular for good reason. He's utilized, obviously, in both the running game and through the air. Has a super high floor. It's the highest over-under of the day. I think Zeke is probably the safest spend-up running back right now at his price. I think Derrick Henry is going to get ownership, too. These two at the top are going to be the chalk for cash games. I have no real issue with either. If you're going to make me pick, I'm going to go to Zeke, who's a slightly better pass-catching back than Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry did get utilized, though, through the air. 3 catches for 15 yards last game, which is good to see. They should be playing from ahead in this one. He had 31 carries last game, so those are the 2 guys I look to for cash as spend-ups. And then there's a couple plays more in the mid-range that I think you can look to for cash. Jonathan Taylor is going to be popular at 5.7. My concern with him is they still have Hines. They said they're going to utilize Jordan Wilkins a bit, so it's going to be like a 3-headed monster here. And it's not giving him an amazing discount. The plus are, we saw what Green Bay did to Minnesota defensively last game, and Colts have a really solid offensive line. Taylor did get utilized in the passing game as well. 6 catches. And Phillip Rivers loves dumping it off to the running back. So those are kind of the positive negatives you got to have to weigh out with Jonathan Taylor. I'm fine with him in cash. He's going to be popular. If you want to get different, I think a guy like Kenyon Drake, he's also going to be somewhat popular, but I don't think as popular as Jonathan Taylor. Like I would feel a little bit more comfortable with Drake than Taylor, but it's close. Again, both those guys I think are pretty good cash game plays at running back. David Johnson also is playable. He, I think, goes a little bit overlooked, but no Duke Johnson. I believe they ruled him out. Let me confirm that. I'm pretty sure I saw Duke Johnson was out. Let me just search Duke Johnson. Probably easier. Or maybe they haven't ruled him out yet. Isn't expected to play. Yeah, so David Johnson should get the majority of the work. So another guy that's playable. But those are probably the running backs I'm looking to for cash, right? So it would be Zeke, Derrick Henry, Kenyon Drake, Jonathan Taylor, maybe David Johnson if you want to go to him with no Duke Johnson. I think he gets utilized a bit more through the air. Let's talk about like GPP plays now. So Christian McCaffrey at 10K, I really like him because no one's going to get to McCaffrey. This is going to be a spot where he was, like 20% owned last slate. It's going to go down. He's going to be like probably 10% owned because that chalk build is people are going to go Henry, people are going to go Zeke, and people are probably going to go Jonathan Taylor and or Kenyon Drake. Like those are the backs going to be used for cash games. And they're going to get a good amount of ownership with GPPs too. And like I mentioned, I think there's enough value on this slate to get McCaffrey in. Sure, Tampa Bay, I guess, pretty solid against the run. It doesn't worry me. It's Christian McCaffrey. He's a running back and a receiver. He only had 3 catches last game. I think those go up. So I like McCaffrey. And I think you can get to him as a more contrarian build, which I have been messing with, is like you plug in Lamar, you plug in like McCaffrey and a couple of stud running backs, and then you just go value at wide receiver. It's contrarian, but it's certainly doable. There's a lot of playable value. So don't mind that build at all. Saquon's is not a guy I'm going to get to against Chicago. I would just feel way more comfortable going to Zeke or Derrick Henry. Yeah, I don't even think I consider him in GPPs either. I mean, the workload's going to be there, but it's just the matchup thing. I'm probably going to avoid Saquon. Dalvin Cook, CEH, Aaron Jones kind of fall in that weird price territory. Again, they're not going to be super popular with Henry. Guys like Zeke picking up a lot of the ownership. They're more contrarian plays, obviously. Of these 3 guys, like who do I prefer? Give me CEH, I guess. It's not really like a super strong take just because that Chiefs offense, any piece in that Chiefs offense is super in play. And he had, 25 carries. I think he could get utilized a bit more through the air. But those are not guys I'm really looking to for cash. Connor's going to be a void for me. I'm interested to see how they work him in with Benny Snell now. Benny Snell looked really good. So it's going to be a wait-and-see approach there for me on Connor. Eckler, I want to get to him. I do at 6'5". Because I think it's really good. They should be falling behind, but it's just this quote, like, suggested that his pass catching opportunity is going to be limited. Like that, it worries me. I do think it goes up, or I think he gets more than 1 catch, but I don't know if we're going to get like as many targets as he saw last year with Philip Rivers as quarterback. So that concerns me. He's still in play for GPPs, but I don't think I can pull the trigger on him. In cash, obviously. I think there's some safer options. Mostert's the guy I'm going to avoid at 6'4". I know he had a decent week last week, but they still have Coleman. They still have a couple other backs they'll use. He did get utilized a bit through the air. I don't know if we see that on a week-to-week basis, like continue. So Mostert's the guy I'm probably going to pump the brakes on. I don't think I'm going to get to him. Gurley at 6'1", played in less than 50% of the snaps, which is worrisome. And Atlantis is a team that is going to air it out. Now, if they're playing from ahead, maybe they do utilize him a bit more. So he's playable in GPPs for sure. He's going to be low owned. And if you want like a piece to this game and you don't want to play the chalk, you could go Gurley, right? If that's the direction you want to go and you want to get a bit contrarian, Gurley's your guy, but not a cash game play for me either. Sanders intrigues me at 6K. He's active. What is his workload is the question. We don't know. Philadelphia has historically liked running a running back by committee backfield. And it's just the hamstring injury worries me a bit, so I can't pull the trigger on Sanders in cash. I like him a good amount for GPPs. If I knew he was going to be like their bell cow back this week, I would play him. But my concern is just the workload after missing week 1 there. And talked about Drake, talked about Taylor. Those guys you can look to in cash. They're going to be popular. I like them in both formats. DJ as well, with no the other DJ being out or most likely out. Yeah, Malcolm Brown's at 5.7, playable, but not like a true workhorse, right? He did have a good week. I feel a little bit more comfortable getting to Drake, a little bit more comfortable getting to Jonathan Taylor at a similar price. So you can look to him. He had a good week, but more of a contrarian play for me. I'm not going to prioritize him. Dave Montgomery, kind of the same thing. I think I'll just slightly prefer Drake, slightly prefer Jonathan Taylor at a similar price. You can look to him, right? He is their 1 and 2 down back, but Tariq Cohen will get utilized in the passing game. Again, a pretty similar play to Jonathan Taylor, but I feel a little bit more comfortable with Taylor because Philip Rivers loves dumping it to the running backs and that Colts offensive line. So that's why I feel a little more comfortable going to Taylor over Demo. I'm not going to get to Mark Ingram. It was the 3-headed monster there backfield for Baltimore, and you're not getting him at a discount. Hines, playable, get utilized a lot last game through the air, but I do prefer Jonathan Taylor. I think he's a little bit safer option. Yeah, Le'Veon on the IR, but I'm not looking to those Jets backs. There's enough value at wide receiver where I don't think we have to consider them. Rojo at 5.2, playable. My concern is they have LaShawn McCoy. They have Fournette. I know he had 17 carries. It's a good matchup too, so playable, but I don't think I can do it in cash games. I feel a little bit more comfortable Drake and Taylor at a similar price than I do Rojo. So Rojo's playable. Again, a good matchup. If they're playing from ahead, maybe gets utilized a bit more. So playable in GPPs, but I don't think I can pull the trigger on him in cash. Melvin Gordon, kind of the same thing. I know Philip Lindsay out, but they're going to utilize Royce Freeman a bit. They said like Melvin Gordon's not going to get huge work, so and it's a tougher spot here against Pittsburgh. Another playable option, but I can't do it in cash games. The Buffalo running backs, I'm probably going to stay away from in this slate. Again, Dobbins, 5-1, they're going to utilize him, Ingram. They just have too many backs there for Baltimore for me to really consider them. Yeah, Cohen at 4.8, again, playable, but not really getting him at a super big discount either. There's no real cheap backs I'm like super excited about down here. Like, I'm not going to play Frank Gore. He is going to be their lead back, but against San Francisco, they still have Josh Adams too. I'm just not going to do it again. Benny Snell was possible value if Connor is out. Connor's in. I'm going to take a wait-and-see approach there. Robinson at 4.4. I mean, he is playable if you need someone super cheap at running back. He was their lead back, but if they fall behind in this game, I think he gets phased out a bit, which is the concern. So, yeah, he's playable, but I don't think I'm going to get him in cash either. Barber was their lead back, was terrible at 4.4. I'm probably not going to prioritize him. Yeah, like Antonio Gibson, right? He was kind of chalky last week. The issue is they'll utilize 3 backs. He probably is the guy that has the most upside, but how much work does he get is the question. So, sure, playable, but no one down here I'm going to get to in cash games. So, that's kind of what I'm looking at here for running back. I think the plays are cash plays are Zeke, Derrick Henry, and I think Drake. I think Jonathan Taylor. Those guys are definitely viable. I think you can go McCaffrey too. I think those are probably the 5 running backs I would look to because there's enough value at wide receiver. Now, McCaffrey's going to be a bit contrarian, but the floor is super high on him, so those are the guys to look to for cash. I mentioned some guys that are playable in GVPs as well. Everyone's sleeping on Clyde. Yeah, Clyde's an interesting play. I don't think I would go to him in cash, but certainly playable in GPPs. All right, let's go to wide receiver. Real quick, though, currently at just over 100 viewers, guys. If you enjoyed the content, hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. It really does help me out. Again, I'll go into questions at the end. We got about 40 minutes until lock. So let's talk about wide receiver today, and there are a lot of different ways you can go. A lot of good spend-up options, a lot of value. So this is where the slate's going to be won and lost, in my opinion, with the running back being pretty chalky. Yeah, Devonta Adams, 8-1. He's just going to be a target machine. He saw 17 targets. This Detroit secondary is terrible. He's playable in both cash and GBP. I think he will be somewhat popular again. I have no issue with Devonta Adams. I think he's a really good play if you can get to him. There's really not a lot of downside to say other than 8-1, not really getting him at like an amazing discount. But the floor, in my opinion, is super high because of the targets. The matchup's great. Again, you can utilize him and Aaron Rodgers, a nice little stack. Don't have an issue with that at all. So Devonta Adams, I think, is a really solid play in both formats. Hopkins at 7-7, I think we'll get ownership as well. 16 targets. Do we get that again? Probably not. I think they get spread out a little bit more. Maybe Kirk, Fitzgerald, a little bit more work. You can certainly pair him with a chalk quarterback and Kyler Murray if you want to go that stack. Or you can stack Kyler with one of those cheaper receivers, or you can just run him naked. You don't have to necessarily stack someone with Kyler Murray if you don't want to, because he's a guy that can get it done on the ground. But yeah, Hopkins, I don't think he's going to be super popular in cash. I think if people are going to spend up a wide receiver, it's going to be Devontae Adams. I'm perfectly fine if you want to get him in GPPs. Again, I don't think I'll get him in cash. If you want to pair him with Kyler, I think that's a nice stack. Tyreek Hill, Mahomes stack is going to be super, super low owned. But, I mean, anytime, they're literally in play any single slate, that Chiefs stack. And you know they're both going to be super, super low owned. I kind of like that for GPPs as well. Then we get to some nice plays here in the mid-range. So, Julio versus Calvin Ridley. Again, this game is going to be super, super popular. I think in cash games, you want some exposure to it, for sure. You can fade in GPPs. There are other games I think have potential to shoot out, but Julio versus Ridley at wide receiver. Even Gage, I think all three are in play. All three at over 100 yards. Again, should be a shootout. Who's my favorite? Probably Ridley for the discount over Julio, but it's really close. Again, I think both are playable in both formats. You can pair them both with Matt Ryan if you want to go that stack in GPPs. Who he threw for, again, over 400 yards last game. So I like all three Atlanta receivers. Probably would rank them Ridley, then Julio, then Gage. Gage is a guy I think will get some ownership, but there's a lot of value wide receivers. There's a lot of different ways you can go. But yeah, I do like all three Atlanta receivers a lot. I think all three are playable in both formats. Thielen at 7-2. It's just a guy that I think goes overlooked. Did have a nice week there last week. Kind of in garbage time there. You just have him around those Atlanta receivers. I just think he flies under the radar. I don't know if I get him in cash games, but you can definitely look to him as an interesting contrarian play there in GPPs. Yeah, Godwin out. Again, Mike Evans, in my opinion, I think is one of the top plays of the day here at 6-4. I really like him. I think he's playable in both formats. Sure, the hamstring injury does worry me a little bit. It does. But with no Godwin in this matchup against Carolina, the 6.4K price point too, I don't think he's gonna be super popular because of the bad week last week. Doesn't worry me. He basically played almost 100% of the snaps last week. Again, a great matchup. I love Mike Evans. The only concern for me is just the hamstring. That's it. Other than that, if I knew he was going to stay healthy, like 100%, just lock him in. So I really, really like Mike Evans at 6'4". I think he's probably my favorite wide receiver play of the day. The concern, obviously, there is just the hamstring injury. This next tier, like Kupp, Juju, Stephon Diggs, Allen Robinson, Woods, I think go a little bit overlooked today. I think Kupp would probably be the guy of that group for me. He had a subpar week 1, which I think will lower the ownership, but you know where the targets are going to on this LA Rams team, right? It's Kupp, it's Woods, it's Higbee a bit, so that's good, and Woods had the good week last week, so I think he's going to be more popular. I'm fine going to Kupp. It just had a tricky price point. You can go to him in cash, for sure, but with a lot of the ownership, I think going to that Atlanta-Dallas game, I think he goes a little bit overlooked, which I do like in GPPs. I would prefer him to Woods, just because Woods had the bigger week last week, and I think Kupp has similar upside, and they're almost identical plays, and if Woods is going to be higher owned, I would just take Kupp. Let's see. Other options here now kind of in the mid-range. More of a contrarian play there at 6'3". Probably not going to prioritize him. Cooper, all three Dallas receivers, like the Atlanta receivers, are playable in both formats. I like all three. Amari Cooper's at 6'3". He will, when Cooper's chalk, it feels like he always is a letdown. When he's lower owned, it seems like he has the big game. He had a really nice week last week. 10 catches, 14 targets. Like I said, you want exposure to this game in cash games, whether it be the Dallas receivers or the Atlanta receivers or Zeke, or we can go Hayden Hurst. So there's a lot of options you can go to. I like all three Dallas receivers, like the Atlanta receivers. I think all three are playable in both formats. Fuller at 6'3" is more just a contrarian play due to the fact of the matchup right against Baltimore. But you can pair him with Watson. Like, Fuller is the guy now for Houston. And not a lot of people are going to use Fuller-Watson stacks. So I do kind of like that as a contrarian build for GPPs. Should be playing behind. It should be a good game script. Fuller got a good amount of work there week 1. 10 targets, 8 catches. He obviously has slate breaking upside too, so not cash play, but I do like that stack in GPPs. Galladay out. We'll talk about some Detroit receivers in a bit. Hollywood Brown at 6'2". I'm not going to pull the trigger on cash, but obviously you can pair him for Lamar and GPPs. A.J. Brown out. Again, we'll talk about Corey Davis, who I think will be pretty popular. Probably not going to get to DJ Chark at 6K. I'm not going to get to Sutton coming off an injury. John Brown I'll pass on. I'm not going to get to Devontae Parker. McLaurin I'll pass. Like this range, that next like the high 5K to low 6K range, I'm not super excited about. TY at 5.7. I don't know if he's going to be super popular, but I do like him at this price. We saw what Green Bay just did to that Minnesota secondary. Had a subpar week 1, 4 catches, 9 targets, but he's got that big play upside. And like I said, it's a really good matchup. We saw what Devontae Adams did, so I kind of like T.Y. Hilton. I think Paris Campbell might get some more ownership on this Indianapolis Colts receiving core. But T.Y. is a guy that I think is playable in both formats. I like the upside there. Keenan Allen, only GPP play. You can pair him with Tyrod Taylor in a game they should be playing from behind, or you could use Eckler. All three guys look pretty decent, but I don't think I can pull the trigger on any of them in cash. Gallup, like I said, all the Dallas receivers are playable for me. Gallup, I think, goes the lowest owned because he's in the tricky price point at 5.6. Makes him a little bit difficult to get him in cash, but Lamb, Cooper, Gallup, all three in play. Gallup would probably be my least favorite for cash games, just because of the price, right? 5.6. If you're like building the cash game lineup, it makes him a little bit tricky to get in there. The Giants receivers are stay away from me. Crowder's out. I'll talk about some potential value there for the Jets. Not super excited about this like low 5K range either at wide receiver. Again, Golden Tate, I believe this is active. I'm just not looking at any of the Giants today. I'm not going to get to Jerry Jeudy. It's a tough matchup there. Now we get to the cheaper wide receivers, and there are a lot in play here. So let's talk about some. Amendola, not going to be super popular, but we still have no Galladay. They should be falling behind. I'm perfectly fine with him. I don't know if I pull the trigger on him in cash just because he didn't play as many snaps, right? He's not a guy that's going to play like 100% of the snaps. He'll probably get like 60-ish%. So playable, but I don't know if I can go with him in cash. Gage, I think we'll get some ownership. He had, over 100 yards, 12 targets. Atlanta loves airing the ball out. I'm fine with him. I think he will be popular. I think he's playable in both formats. Like I said, I think I like all Atlanta receivers. I like all the Dallas receivers in a game that's going to be super chalky, but that's more talking in cash formats. You can obviously stack in GPPs as well. Preston Williams against Buffalo, playable, but I think I feel a little bit more comfortable with some other value receivers. I'm not going to get to Sammy Watkins. If you want to pair him with Mahomes as a low-on stack, again, doable, but I'm talking more cash games here. Samuel, probably not going to get to him either. He did get a nice boost playing in the slot there. This should be falling behind, but I think there's safer value options. A guy like CeeDee Lamb at 4.7, playable in both formats. It's just a really cheap price. He played basically the whole game. Dallas is going to utilize all of the receivers. It's a great matchup here. Again, 4.7, a really nice price here for CeeDee Lamb. So I like him a lot here at that price. I'm not going to get to Beasley or Sims or MVS. Don't think we have to pull the trigger there. Fitz and Kirk for Arizona. Again, I don't think we get Hopkins. He had 16 targets last game. I think it's a little bit more spread out here. If you want to pair, if you're using Kyler and cash and you want like a cheap wide receiver to pair him with, you can go Fitz or Kirk. No issue really with either. I think Kirk is slightly safer just because Fitzgerald is obviously getting up there in age. But yeah, both are playable for me. Don't really have an issue there. Deontay Johnson's going to be popular. He's going to be really popular. He had 10 targets, 6 catches. I'm perfectly fine with him. Again, I think he's going to be one of the more popular plays in cash for wide receiver as a cheap option. But there are a lot of different options you can go to. I think he's primed for a nice breakout year here. It does help with Big Ben being healthy. So Deontay Johnson, I think, is a perfectly fine play in both formats. He's going to be popular too as well. Paris Campbell, like I mentioned, I think he will get some ownership. 6 catches, 9 targets last week. Like I said about T.Y., the matchup against Minnesota. Green Bay just absolutely lit up at secondary. So I think Paris Campbell's a pretty decent play as a value option, playable in both formats, in my opinion. I'm not going to get to Jefferson or Cobb or Ayuk or Keenan Cole. Don't think we have to do that, right? They're playable, but I'm not going to pull a trigger on any of those guys in cash games. Scotty Miller is one of my favorite value plays here at 4-1. With no Chris Godwin, he should be their number 2 guy. Again, a great matchup here. I think you can play both Scotty Miller and Mike Evans together if you want to. Like, full disclosure, I have them both in right now. Like the price points in both a lot. So, really like Scotty Miller here for value. Definitely one of my favorite value plays of the day. Playable in both formats, obviously. Corey Davis, another cheap value play that I think it looks really solid. He's going to be popular as well. No A.J. Brown. He's going to be the number one receiver. He's 4K. So Corey Davis, I think, looks like a really, really solid play, playable in both formats. He's going to be popular as well. Again, him, Deontay Johnson, Scotty Miller. Like, there is a lot of really good value. And like I mentioned that build with, you can go, like, let me just mess with this really quick. I don't think I can pull the trigger on this in cash, but like you can do something like this lineup, and just like load up on running back. Maybe go like Jonathan. If you can start your lineup with that, and then just go super like those value wide receivers, a value tight end. Like that's a build that intrigues me. I'm not going to pull a trigger on it, but I do like that. Like starting your lineup with just Lamar, McCaffrey, Zeke, and Jonathan Taylor, and then go value at wide receiver. It's going to be contrarian, but there's a lot of value. I think it's doable for sure. But yeah, back to wide receiver. Where are we at here? Let's see. Talked about Corey Davis. Again, I think he's going to be really, really popular. No real issue with there. Cephas is going to be utilized a good amount with no Kenny Golladay. He had 10 targets last week. I think he is playable as well at 3.8. He should get a good amount of work. And then let me go to the Jets receivers to finish it off, because there's value here. Perriman, Hogan, and Berrios, all three are in play. I think Perriman will probably pick up the most ownership at 3.8. We have no Jameson Crowder. Like, someone's got to catch the ball for this Jets team. They should be playing from behind, so I think all three are playable. The guy that intrigues me the most is Braxton Berrios. He's the flat min. They said he's going to be the slot receiver. And we saw the Jets love going to the slot receiver. Jameson Crowder, what did he have last week? He had an insane week. 13 targets, 7 catches. So Berrios intrigues me. I don't think a lot of people play him. He's going to be super low owned, but I think he gets a good amount of work, and he's the flat min. So can I pull the trigger in cash? Probably not, but I do like him at the flat minimum price. I do think he's playable. Obviously, Hogan and Perriman are in there as well. I don't know if these Jets receivers are going to be that high owned because Deontay Johnson's on the slate. Paris Campbell, Corey Davis, Scotty Miller. Those are the wide receivers I think are going to pick up ownership. But these Jets wide receivers are definitely playable. Berrios at the flat min, if you can pull the trigger on him, I think he makes for a nice play at super low ownership. All right, let's go to tight end. So, tight end Kelsey, obviously you can look to him in GPPs pairing with Mahomes. It's going to be a low-owned stack. All the Chiefs are going to be low-owned. I don't hate that at all. Mark Andrews, more of a GPP play as well. Again, if you want to pair him with Lamar, perfectly fine with him. His snaps went way up in his second season here with Baltimore. So I think Mark Andrews is a really solid play, but just in GPPs because of the price point, right? Cash games, you're going to want to spend down at tight end. That's like the optimal build. I mentioned the cash game running backs. There's a lot of playable wide receivers. Wide receiver is where the slate is going to be won, in my opinion. So getting the wide receiver right is going to be key. Ertz had a subpar week. He's got it at the big week. I'm fine with him. But again, not going to look to him in cash. Ingram's a void for me. I'm not going to look to TJ Hawkinson or Hunter Henry. That price range is just kind of stay away from me for tight end. Goddard got a big price. I'm probably not going to price boost. I'm probably not going to chase that. I'm not going to look to Higbee either. Hayden Hurst. I was really high on him last week. I'm still high on him again this week. He ran the most routes of any tight end last week. He only had 3 catches. But he was out there majority of the game. And again, this game is going to be super high scoring. It should be. With all the chalk going to Zeke and those receivers, Hayden Hurst makes for an interesting play here. I actually think he's playable in cash. Like Logan Thomas is probably going to be more popular and probably, I guess, the optimal play at tight end for cash, but I like Hurst. I think he's playable in both formats. He had a subpar week, but I'm not super concerned about him. We saw Austin Hooper's production last year with Atlanta. I like Hurst a good amount. I think he's playable in both formats. I don't think he's be high owned. I do like him as a bounce back spot here. Probably not a look to Font. I know he had a good week, but I'm not super excited about targeting anyone against Pittsburgh. I'm going to pass on Ebron. Juno Smith's another guy I think will be pretty popular. Him, Corey Davis should get a good amount of work here with no A.J. Brown. The concern, Tennessee is a run-first team, but someone's got to catch some balls here for Tennessee. Smith, Davis, even Adam Humphries, who I didn't mention, I think he's playable as a cheap option. No real issue. I think, again, I slightly prefer Logan Thomas, though, as like a cash game tight end. Gronk at 4-1. They utilize him and OJ Howard. He was somewhat popular last week. He's going to be super, super low owned. Again, I don't think I can do it in cash games, but playable in GPPs. He was out there a good amount of snaps. I think he got over 70% of snaps. So obviously he's a guy you can look to him, or he's a guy they can look to in the red zone. So Gronkowski 4-1 is playable, but I don't think I can do it in cash. Gesicki at 4K, I'll probably pass on. I just feel a little bit more comfortable with some of these other value tight ends. So yeah, Logan Thomas at 3.6. He's probably the guy in cash games. If you want to get different, you can go Hayden Hurst, right, for an extra $1,000. But Logan Thomas will be the most popular tight end play in cash games this week. So he's a guy that they're going to utilize a lot here in the red zone. He had 8 targets, 4 catches. He played, 74% of the snaps. He's a big body guy that can look to in the red zone. He's going to be popular. So, yeah, I think you play him in cash games. If you want to get a little bit different at Hayden Hurst, there are a couple other options too. But Logan Thomas is one of the clear plays of the day there at tight end. I'm not going to go to Rudolph. Herndon, another guy that's viable. No Crowder. Like, he should get a little bit more work as well if you don't want to take a shot on those Jets receivers. You can go Herndon. I think he has a breakout year this year. I'm really high on him in season long. I got him on my team as well. He had 6 catches, 7 targets last week. Could go up, obviously, with no James Crowder. So Herndon's a guy that I have interest in there at 3-4. Let's see. Other options at tight end. I mean, there are some playable guys. Like, we have, let me go to San Francisco. Kittle's out. Reed, playable, but from what I saw, I saw an article he might only play 20 snaps, which is not great. They're going to ease him into it, even with Kittle out. So if I knew he was going to get a full workload, I would really like Jordan Reed. But there is concern right now, even with Kittle out, that he doesn't play a whole lot of snaps, which obviously worries me. You have, let's see, Jack Doyle's out. So let me go to the Colts really quick. Mo Alley-Cox is actually playable. He's a decent pass-catching tight end. He is 3K. He had 2 catches last week, even with Doyle playing. So I think Mo Alley-Cox is a perfectly fine punt option if you want to punt the position at tight end. I think he makes for a pretty decent, really cheap option. I think that's about it for tight end for me, to be honest. You could look to Ian Thomas at 3-2, but I feel a little bit more comfortable with those other tight ends I mentioned. Yeah, that's probably it for me. So let's go to defense now. Defense, I'm probably going to look to spend down. If you want to spend up, obviously 49ers or Bills or Steelers, they're fine. But you're going to have to pay premium for them. Again, usually spending down. I think there's a couple cheap defenses down here. The Jets at 2K against San Francisco, missing a lot of their top options. I think they're playable. I don't mind the Dolphins against Josh Allen, who's turnover prone. Those are probably the 2 defenses I'm looking to. Again, I usually look to punt defense, and I think both are playable at 2-1 and 2K. The mid-range for defense is a little bit tricky. I'm not super excited about a lot of the defenses in this range. So for me, I'm going to spend down. If I wasn't going to spend down, I would probably spend all the way up at one of these top defenses. But like I said, not really getting a discount on them. And the opportunity cost, the 2K discount, I'd rather just take a shot on one of those really cheap defenses and hope they don't kill me. So, we got about 20 minutes to lock, so we can get to some questions first, but let's talk about cash games, right? And a cash game core build for me is probably going to be the 3 running back situation, and I think McCaffrey's viable. It's more contrarian, though, so I think the guys that are going to be super, super popular in cash a running back are Zeke, Derrick Henry, Kenny Drake, and Jonathan Taylor. Those are the backs I would look to for cash. So go 3 of those 4. If you want to go Derrick Henry, that's fine. You can go Drake, and you can go Jonathan Taylor. Those are the backs that are going to be super, super popular. And then, for tight end, for me, at cash, it's either Logan Thomas or Hayden Hurst. Thomas is going to be more popular, so if you want to just plug him in there, that's fine. So that's probably what I look to for a cash game build to start. Again, you can throw Derrick Henry in here for either Drake or Jonathan Taylor if you want to. If you want to take out Drake, I think he's probably going to be the least owned of those guys. This will probably be the ultimate chalk build to start. Zeke, Henry, Jonathan Taylor, and Logan Thomas. That's where I look to for cash games. And then wide receivers where it's going to be one, right? There's a lot of different options. I really like Mike Evans in the mid-range. I like those Atlanta and Dallas receivers. Obviously, that's not a contrarian take. And then there's a lot of cheap value plays too. So wide receivers where it's going to be run one on the slate in my opinion. But that's the build that I think is going to be super, super popular. And that's the core that I would probably go with for cash games. All right, let's get some questions here. Almost to 150 viewers, guys. If you enjoyed the content, hit that like button. It really, really does help me out. And subscribe if you haven't already. Jordan Reed, 49ers, any thoughts? So I mentioned him. If I knew he was going to need a full workload, then I would probably take the shot on him. But I read a quote that they're still going to ease him into it, even with Kittle out. Like I saw 15 to 20 snaps. Like that just worries me. Sure, maybe that doesn't happen. Maybe he plays more, but it just does worry me. I don't know if I want to pull the trigger on him. Arizona viable for defense. Let's see. Where's Arizona at price-wise? Cardinals at 3K. Yeah, they're playable, right? It's just that mid-range, no defense really stands out to me. So I'd rather just punt the position or punt defense or go all the way to the top. So yeah, you can look to them, but they're going to be a little bit more contrarian defense. What's up, guys? Thoughts on Mostert? Yeah, so Mostert's a guy I'm going to avoid just because. Let me go to San Francisco really quick. They utilize 3 backs. I know Mostert is the lead back, but the price point's not really getting like a huge discount. Like Jerick McKinnon looked good in his. He was finally healthy. Tevin Coleman, I think, gets incorporated a little bit more. So sure, Mostert did have 4 catches. I think that's more of an outlier. 1 for that long touchdown. I'm probably not going to do it. I just don't feel as good about it. I feel more comfortable with those other backs I mentioned at similar price points. Bucks D is pretty cheap. Yeah, I don't hate the Bucks D at all. Frank Gore revenge game thoughts. I'm not going to do it. I don't think we have to do it. They still have Josh Adams too, a tough spot. I'm not looking to Frank Gore. Also, Niners probably going to run on 70% of snaps. So they will. They're a run-first team. But like I said, they have 3 running backs. Not really getting most at a huge discount. That's a concern. Brandon Ayuk, Kendrick Bourne, McKinnon, pick 2, and how much fantasy points for Chris Hogan? Let's see. So for those 3 guys, I'm not really looking to any of them. Obviously, you're probably playing the single game, right? For me, it'll probably be the 2 wide receivers there for San Francisco. And then fantasy points for Chris Hogan. It's a little bit tough. I mean, he's going to get a good amount of snaps. I say like 7, 8 fantasy points for Hogan probably would be like a decent guess. Frank Gore extra run against former team. Again, I'm going to pump the brakes. They have Josh Adams. Tough matchup. I'm not going to do it. My line is Lamar, Henry, Gordon, Scotty Miller, D-Hop, Corey Davis, Jordan Reed, CH, and Rams. I like it. Again, just be a little bit concerned about Jordan Reed, right? The quote of, I did tweet it out to Matthew on Twitter. If you guys want to check out my tweets, there was a quote in there that said he was only going to play 15 to 20 snaps, which does worry me. Let's see. How does this look for my $3 GBP? Trubisky, Drake, Taylor, Adams, Robinson, Lamb, Logan Thomas, Thielen, and Ramsey. I think it looks really, really good for sure. Thanks, TK. Of course, man. DK, thoughts on Aaron Jones? Yeah, so he's a more contrarian play today, just because the price point, right? You have Zeke and Henry that are going to be super popular at the top. You have a couple plays a little bit below them that are going to be popular, and guys like Taylor, Drake. Aaron Jones is at a tricky price point, 7-1. My concern is he had a lot of touchdowns last year. I forget what it was, but like insane amount. I think that goes down, and they're still going to use Jamal Williams. Like Jamal Williams is still going to get a decent amount of work. He had 7 carries, 4 catches. That's the worry with Jones. Green Bay should be playing from ahead, and Detroit obviously not great defensively. So I don't have an issue with Aaron Jones. I think you can go to him, but I don't know if I go to him in cash. But I do. I think he's playable. I do. Let's see. Gurley will go low-owned. Watch. Yeah, Gurley's going to be low-owned. 100% Gurley will be low-owned. If you want to get a low-owned piece of that chalk game and you want to get different, Gurley's probably your guy. If they're playing from ahead, I could see him get more work, right? He kind of got phased out a bit because they fell behind early. but I think he is 100% in play. GPP running backs. Yeah, so who am I looking to for GPP running backs? Well, obviously you can play the chalk at running back in GPPs as well. McCaffrey I like a lot. I just do. Again, I mentioned this build, but you can do something like this to start a lineup. You have 3.5K remaining. Get a cheap defense in there. Let's just say we throw the Jets. And then just go value wide receiver. There's a lot of value wide receiver that's playable. Like this lineup, I like that a lot. I debated using it in cash. I think it's a little bit too risky, but man, I really like the upside on a build like this. Let's see, 2,700 tight end. I don't know if there's any real playable guys below. Like Jordan Reed is the guy at 2,600, but how much work does he get? Again, the quote did worry me a lot. Like, I don't think I could play anyone else, to be honest. So I guess you could just take the shot and Reed and hope he gets extended a bit. The Atlanta team is going to be really high owned. Yeah, no doubt about it. Atlanta-Dallas is going to be the chalk. 100% chalk. I think you want pieces of it for cash games. You can get away in GPPs, definitely. GPP lineup, Rivers, Elliott, Jones. Rivers, Elliott, Jones, Hilton, Gallup, Hurts, Kirk, Evans, Steelers, D. Philip Rivers, the quarterback, is just... I guess I'm okay with it. A good matchup, but not really excited about playing Philip Rivers. Opinions on Ronald Jones. Rojo's playable. He is. My concern is they do have other backs they'll utilize in McCoy and in Leonard Fournette. It's a good matchup. 5-2, fair price, playable GPPs. I don't think I'll do it in cash. I feel more comfortable with Taylor, with Drake at a similar price, but he's someone you can look to for sure as a cheaper option. Thoughts on a Haskins, McLaurin stack and running it back with Hop and Drake? I like it. It's going to be low owned. Haskins is obviously really cheap. McLaurin's not a guy that's going to be popular in the slate. I like that for GPPs. Do you go defense, LO, or did I miss it? I did. I'm looking to punt the position for defense, like Jets or Dolphins for me. Like you can, for me, it's either spend all the way down or spend all the way up at defense. But I think the Jets against the 49ers, who are missing a lot of pieces, playable. Also the Dolphins against Josh Allen, who's turnover prone. Those are the two defenses I'm looking to, probably. Thoughts on Quintez Cephas? I think he's certainly playable. Again, there's a lot of really good value wide receiver. I don't think he's the top value play. Like, I would probably feel a little bit more comfortable with Scotty Miller, Deontay Johnson, Corey Davis, but don't rule him out. So, yeah, Cephas is playable for sure. Diggs and Thomas or Reed and CEH. Which Thomas are we talking about here? I just want to make sure I got that right. Are you talking about Ian Thomas? Let's see. I got Campbell, Deontay Johnson, Lamb, Henry, Zeke, Taylor, Thomas, Jets. Should I pay you for quarterback or replace Henry for McCaffrey? Or pay up for quarterback? Oh. McCaffrey's going to be low owned, but I do like him. Henry's probably the safer play. He's going to be really, really popular. Connor or Zach Moss? I wouldn't play either, to be honest. I wouldn't. James Conner with Benny Snell looking good. He banged up. He was dealing with an ankle injury. Zach Moss, just not really getting him a huge discount either. Like, where's Zach Moss at? He's at 4.8. I guess for the price, give me Moss, because I don't really want to pay 6.8 for Connor. Again, I'm going to take a wait-and-see approach. So, thoughts on DraftKings stock price, LOL? It's looking good. I sold my shares at like 48, but I should have held on a little bit more. So, yeah, love the DraftKings stock price there. Smash that like button. Yeah, guys, hit that like button. It really, really does help me out. I appreciate it. Logan Thomas or Herndon? It's going to be Thomas for me. I think both look good, though, as like cheap tight ends. But Thomas is probably the guy in cash. The other guy I'm considering is a bounce back spot for Hayden Hurst. Lamar, Zeke, McCaffrey, Berrios, Cephas, Evans, Allie Cox, Humphreys, and Billsy. Yeah, so that's risky. No doubt about it. That's a GPP build, but I kind of like it. Right, Berrios, no one's going to play at the flat min. He should be utilized a decent amount in the slot, like Crowder. So I kind of like him as a low-end play. Cephas I'm fine with. Mike Evans is one of my favorite wide receiver plays. Allie Cox should get a good amount of work there with no Jack Doyle. Humphrey is not a guy that's going to be super popular, but playable with no A.J. Brown. I'm eating all the Dallas Atlanta chalk today. Yeah, I'm eating a good amount of chalk today for that as well. I have, I think, 3 players from that game. Yeah, I have 3 players. I have Zeke, I have Calvin Ridley, and I have Hayden Hurst. And I'm playing Hurst over Thomas just to get a little bit different, but I do like both. And those are the top 2 tight end plays for me. Must need kicker to take the Millie. Stacking Trubisky and Robinson, playable. Trubisky's at a playable price. He was terrible in the first half, bounced back in the second half. It's a really cheap price point. I feel more comfortable getting to Kyler for cash, but I think you can do that in GPPs. Henry or Hopkins at flex. For cash games, Henry. Just because running backs have a higher floor. So cash Henry, GPP probably Hopkins for me. Get some at 30. Wish I got more. Yeah, I got mine at like 40, so it wasn't like I made huge profit, but I was looking to buy in lower. I just didn't. Trubisky, Elliott, Miles Sanders, Devontae Robinson, Slayton, Logan Thomas, Berrios, Billsy. It's a riskier build. Riskier for sure. Again, that's GPP lineup. Like Miles Sanders, hamstring worries me a bit. How much work does he get? But if he gets a full workload, I think he could crush his salary. You're playing Devontae. That's a safe play. Robinson, I don't think will be super high owned after having a subpar week last week. Slayton is a guy I'm not super popular because of the matchup, or not super high because of the matchup, but everything else is fine. I love the Trubisky-Robinson stack. I think Trubisky will go for 35 plus. I'm fine with that. I am. Robinson will go a little bit under the radar after having a subpar week last week. He's got the big play upside. He's clearly the number 1 guy. It's a good matchup, so I think Allen Robinson is a perfectly fine play if you want to stack him there with Mitch Trubisky. DK, what do you do for a living? I work for a financial software company, and then obviously like DFS is like my second job. So, yeah, that's what I do. 7.1K left for flex. Who do I go with? It kind of depends. Are you going cash GBP? 7.1K for cash games for me. Probably Calvin Ridley. I guess Calvin Ridley or Aaron Jones. That's probably where I would look to. How's your golf line going? It was going really good, and then Patrick Reed kind of blew up yesterday. So I'm close to the money in GPP, but I don't know if I'm going to get in. I was 5 of 6 today, this week. Kuchar missed the cut for me. Yeah, so I mean, I have Xander, I have Webb Simpson, and Patrick Reed all near the top, but I don't know if I'm going to hit the cash. Let's see. Jets or Miami D for cash and GPP. It's a coin flip for me. I think I have the Jets, but those are the 2 defenses I'm looking to just to spend down. I just hope they're not going to kill me, right? If the Jets can get me like 4 or 5 fantasy points, I'm fine with that. DK, what stocks do you own? Not a lot. Just DraftKings, to be honest. I do own some Bitcoin too, but yeah. Who do you like as a mid-range receiver over Slayton? Mid-range over Slayton. Let's see. Where is Slayton's price at? He's like 5K, right? So he's 5K. I would rather go to CD Lamb. CD Lamb at 4.7. That's probably your guy for me. Or you can leave a little bit more money on the table, go Deontay Johnson. But I think CD Lamb would be the guy there in the mid range over. I feel better about him than I do Slayton. Just the matchup, right? Game should be a shootout. Thoughts on Big Ben? I'm not going to do Big Ben this week. People will sleep on Djax. They will. Snap should go up, but I'm not prioritizing Deshaun Jackson. We're not getting him at a huge discount. Aaron Jones outscores Adams today. Possible. Again, my concern with Aaron Jones is also you let Jamal Williams. Miami. Yeah, Miami or Jets. I don't have a strong take there. JT starts off with -2 through every 5 in this course. Thank you, DK. Yeah, of course, man. We got about 4 minutes to lock, so let me know if you guys have any last minute questions, and then I can hop out of here. Yeah, I'm pretty excited for this week. I am. It's going to be, there's obviously going to be a lot of chalk, but there are a couple ways to get different, and I think it's a really, really interesting week. GPP, let's see. Tannehill, Zeke, CEH, Devontae, Corey Davis, Berrios, Ali Cox, Julio, Cards D. I'm fine with it, right? You're obviously taking some risk on some of those cheaper guys. Berrios, I'm not playing him because I'm a single entry guy, but he intrigues me just because he's going to be playing the slot. Darnold likes going to the slot receiver. It's a super big risk, but obviously your GPPs, that's fine. Miami pass defense is nasty. We know Allen's going to fumble prone too. Yeah, it's Miami. It's the Jets for me. I guess Miami over the Jets. I don't know. It's not a super strong take for me. Yeah, I guess more that talk about. I'll probably prefer the Dolphins D. I actually just made the switch in my lineup. I had the Jets, but I switched to the Dolphins. Let's see, Thielen and Jets or Rams and Diggs. Thielen, Jets for me. Let's see if there's any overlay. I haven't really took a look much at the DraftKings lobby. I do want to thank you guys all for coming to check out the live stream, though. Really do appreciate it. Hit 150 viewers. So thank you guys again for all coming to check out the live stream. There might be a little bit overlay in the Millie Maker. There's about 13,000 left. Thoughts on Juju? He's at an interesting price point. He's going to be lower owned. I'm fine with it. I'm not going out of my way to play Juju, but I'm good with it. Logan or Hurst? Logan is probably the slightly safer option. Full disclosure, though, I told you guys I'm playing Hurst. That's just for me to get a little bit different because my lineup is going to be really chalky. It is, and I'm okay getting a little bit different at tight end. So, what game would you stack? Well, the chalk stack is definitely Falcons and Cowboys. Other games I do have interest in to stack. I think Washington, Arizona is interesting, right? If you want to go Kyler and as a receiver and maybe run it back like Logan Thomas, I think that makes for a pretty interesting stack. KC and the Chargers, if you want to go low-owned stack and go Tyrod and Keenan Allen and run it back with a couple of the Kansas City guys, I think that makes for an interesting game stack as well. Humphreys or Berrios, tricky one for me. Humphreys is a little bit more defined in his role, whereas Berrios didn't play a whole lot last week, but I think he gets the snaps this week. I guess the safer option would be Humphreys, but I think both are really are playable, riskier options, though. Not cash game plays. I don't think I would go to Humphreys or Berrios in cash, but definitely look to them in GPs. Cup or Davis prices, it's going to be Cup for me. I won $100 after watching one of your NBA live streams. Hey, nice. That's good to hear. Lock and loaded. Yep, should be locked now, guys. So I'll go over some ownership, and then we can get out of here. Good luck. Yeah, good luck to everyone, guys. Again, I'll stay on for another minute or so, go over some ownership. I'm going to look ownership in this $100 single entry tournament I'm in to see what it's at. I'm curious. I know there's going to be a lot of chalk at running back, but I'm curious to see what the wide receiver ownership is because there's a lot of really good cheap plays. Guys I think will be popular. I think Deontay Johnson's going to be really popular. CeeDee Lamb. I think Kirk will get some ownership. I think Corey Davis will get some ownership. Scotty Miller. I'm really curious to see how that kind of pans out. Let's see. I'm really hoping Trubisky does as good as I'm thinking. Yeah, I think Trubisky's okay. Right? He had a nice second half. The pairing with Allen Robinson is perfectly fine. Yeah, bro, I played Trubisky. Yes, if you guys played Trubisky, that's fine. I told you guys I'm playing Kyler Murray, but no real issue with that. We might not get ownership for a sec. If we don't in the next minute or so, let's hop out because DraftKings is kind of slow updating their ownership. Let's see. Trubisky's inconsistent, but the good parts of that game. Let's see. These spots. Yeah. And he's a guy that can get down in the ground, too. Like, he can go for, like, 40 yards and touch on the ground. That's not out of the realm of possibilities. Good matchup, too, like I said. So, I don't have any issue with Trubisky. But, yeah, I don't think we're going to get ownership in time, or it's not going to load in time. So, I'm probably going to head out here, guys. But, good luck. Again, thank you guys again so much for checking out the live stream. I really, really do appreciate it, guys. Hope you guys all win some good money. I'll be back for a video. I might have a video up for the NBA Showdown game later today. Maybe up after this, and I'll have a video up for Monday Showdown slate, the Monday Night Football game. So good luck today, and I will see you guys all later.